Hello everyone, my name is George and today we are going to use PHP AJAX and a drop-down select menu to filter database data. Now let me explain what we see on the screen. This is a page in which I'm displaying a bunch of products. Those products are coming from a database and are displayed in a random order. On the left I have a select drop-down menu from which I can filter the products by categories. If I choose books, we see only books in the page. If I choose games, we see only the games that we have in the database, and so on. We have phones, we have also microphones in our shop. And when I select all products, we see all the products in the page. This is what we are going to build. So let's see what files we need and start coding. I have an index.php file with a basic HTML structure. I have a link to my style sheet and a script tag pointing to my JavaScript file. I have a products folder in which I have all the products images. Next I have an empty JavaScript file. In here we are going to write the AJAX request. Next I have an empty script.php file. This is the file that will handle the AJAX request. I have a functions.php file in which we are going to write the functions that we need. And last, I have a style sheet with some basic rules in it to make the page pretty. Now, before we go to the index file and start coding, let me show you the database table. This is the products table. Every product has an ID, an image, a title, a price, a description, and a category column. The last one is the one that we are going to use to filter the products. Now let's go to the index file and start coding. I am going to create a div element with a class of page, which I will split in two sections. On the left element we are going to have the select menu. On the right element we are going to display the products. Let's start first with the drop-down menu. I gave the select menu an ID so I can target it from the JavaScript file. We don't need to wrap the select menu with a form element because we are going to use JavaScript to get the selected value. Now let's write the options inside the select element. Our first option is all products. Next we have the books category, games, tablets, phones and microphones. It is important that the option values are matching the values in the category column. We could fetch those values dynamically with PHP, but I thought not to make things too complicated. Now let's code the right section. I will add a heading which will display the chosen category. When the page first loads, it will display all products. Next, I will have a div element that will wrap the products. I will give it a class of product wrapper. Let's see what we have so far. We see the page, the heading and the drop-down menu. Nice. Now let's go back to the index file. Inside the products wrapper, I'm going to open PHP tags. I'm going to write the PHP code to fetch the products from the database. I'm going to use a function named getAllProducts and I will store the returned values to the products variable. Now this function doesn't exist yet. So let's go to the functions.php file and write the function. Before we write the getAllProducts function, I'm going to write first a function so I can connect to the MySQL server. I will create a new MySQLi object and I will pass in my database connection details. And I will store the returned object in the MySQLi variable. Next, I will check the error number property and if it is not 0, I will return the connection error. Else, if the connection is successful, I will return the MySQLi object. Now, let's write the getAllProducts function. First of all, I will run the connect function and I will store the MySQLi object in the MySQLi variable. Next, I will execute the database query. I will select everything from the products table in a random order. And I will store the returned result set in the res variable. Next, I will loop through the result set and I will fetch every record as an associative array. Inside the loop, I will add every record to the products array. Now the products array is a multi-dimensional associative array which holds the products. Let me quick show you how it looks like. We see that every product is an associative array, that it's stored inside the products array. Now let's go back to the index file and loop through the products array so we can display them in the screen. I will use a for each function to loop through all the products. Inside the loop, I will close and then back open the PHP tag, so I can write HTML code between. I will use a div element with a class of product. I will split the product element in two columns. On the left, I will display the product's image. I will set the source attribute to the product's image's path. Next, I will go to the right section and add the title, the price, and the description element. I will display the title by targeting the title key, and I will do the same thing with the price and the description. The last thing that we have to do is to include the functions.php file. Now let's see what we have so far. Let's reload the page, and we see the products from the database on our page. Everything seems fine. Now let's go to the JavaScript file to code the filter. I will set some global variables first. I will access the drop-down menu by targeting the element's ID. I need access to the H2 heading element, and last I need access to the products wrapper element. Next, I will assign a non-change event listener on the select menu, so every time we choose an option, a function will run. The first thing that I will do inside the function is to get the selected option value. Next, I will fetch the text of the selected option and I will display it inside the H2 heading element. Next, I will start the AJAX request by creating a new XML HTTP request object. Next, I'm going to use the open method to prepare the request. I will use the post HTTP method to send the request to the script.php file. Next, I will set the content type header to application xwww form URL encoded. This will send the data in a key value pair format as a normal HTML form would. And last, I will use the send method to send the data to the PHP file. You see that we have here a key value pair format. The string category is the key and the category name variable is the value. Now we have to go to the PHP file and check if there is a post request which holds a key named category. Let's go. The first thing that I will do is to require the functions.php file so I have access to the functions there. Next, I will check if there is a post request that holds the category key. Next, I will assign the value to the category variable. Remember that this is the selected value. If we're selecting books from the drop-down menu, the category variable has a value of books. Next, I will check the category's value. If it is an empty string, I will run the getAllProducts function and store the result to the products variable. But if there is a value, I will run the getProductsByCategory function and pass in as an argument the selected category. And I will store the results to the products variable. Now the getProductsByCategory function doesn't exist yet, so let's go to the functions.php file and write the function. First, we run the connect function to connect to the database. Next, I will execute the select query, but this time I want only the records that have a category that matches the category that we selected. If we choose books, we will get back all the items that have a category value of books. Next, as we did in the getAllProducts function, we will loop through the results and fetch every record as an associative array, store them in the products array variable, and return them. Now we have to go back to the script.php file and send to the JavaScript file the server's response encoded in a JSON format. Now we have to go to the JavaScript file and catch the server's response. I will go above the open method and check the onload property. If the transaction with a server is completed, the onload property will fire a function. Inside the function, I will check the ready state and the status property. To have a successful server response, the ready state value has to be 4 and the status property has to be 200. We have access to the server's response with a response text property. But we have first to decode the incoming JSON string to a JavaScript object so we can work with the data. Next, I will create a variable named out. The out variable will hold all the returned products. Next, I will loop through the response and add every product in the out variable. I will go to the index file and I will copy the HTML template and I will paste the code inside the backticks. Now we have to change the PHP code with JavaScript. Now let's change first the image's source attribute. Next, I'm going to change the title, the price, and the description. And last, we have to target the container's inner HTML property and assign the out variable. Now, before we run our code in the browser, I went through the code and spotted an error. In the last curly brace, we have to add a closing parenthesis and a semicolon. Now, let's see if our code works. Let's reload the page and let's choose a category from the drop-down menu. We see books, we see games, tablets, phones, and microphones. Everything is working fine. If you like to read the article and download the source code, there is a link in the description below. And that's it, guys. I hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.